We're now going to do my book report about a book. So let me screen share if I can. So the books, I think I'll make myself a little bigger. Book's title is The Overstory. And overstory doesn't really mean anything in normal English. Story with an E, Storey, means the floor of a house. So you could imagine that the overstory means the floor above us. And in that way, the trees are like a floor above us. But it's actually written Story. So it means like it's the story which is going on above humans, I guess. Let's go back to my screen share again and what happened to it. And so the author is Richard Powers, and he won some prizes. I think he won the Pulitzer Prize for fiction in 2019. So he is an acclaimed author. I read this book about 3 years ago, and it took me maybe a couple of months to read. And so now I'm rereading it. And I'm looking at the page 200 section, which is about a woman called Olivia. Olivia is a student of accountancy. She's going to become an accountant. So she's interested in finance. But the thing is, she's not really interested. And one day she's feeling depressed about her relationship. I think she gets married and then she gets divorced. She drinks a lot of alcohol and she does a lot of dating. But one day she gets in the bath when the electricity is on and she gets electrocuted. And she only survives by a miracle. But after the miracle, she sleeps, she has a big shock, and then she wakes up and she can hear imaginary voices. The imaginary voices are kind of the voices of trees. She calls them the beings of light, and she doesn't understand exactly what she's supposed to do. But she drives north in America and she drives to the area where the trees are being cut down. And it's the area with the giant redwood trees. So historically, in the 1970s, there were some protests of trying to protect the giant redwood trees. If you look up the name Julia Butterfly Hill, Julia Butterfly Hill was a woman who lived in a tree for about 2 years. And the protesters used to do their cooking and live. They had toilets, like they used to wash with a bath. And the support of the protesters would give them stuff by sending it up in a bucket. So this was actually a real true thing that happened. And if you Google Julia Butterfly Hill, she's about 60 now, maybe a little bit older, 65. So I'm going to talk about the book's theme. I think the theme is that nature is important. And let me see if I can read you a little bit. It's difficult to choose a particular part of the story because there are many characters in this story. So we get many different points of view, including people who think that Olivia is crazy. In fact, most of including the author of the book, clearly thinks that Olivia is a bit crazy because she had this near-death experience. And so she's not seeing life quite the same way as normal people do. There's another character who is a biological scientist who is much more grounded than Olivia, but she's still interested in protecting the trees. And so here's a quotation from page 211. The most wondrous products of 4 billion years of life need help. It's simple enough and self-evident. Now the light beings have pointed it out. Everyone, every reasonable person in the planet should be able to see. So now she's trying to explain to some humans as she's taking a truck, she's traveling, hitchhiking across America. Well, there's a project out west, important volunteer work. I've been recruited. What do you mean, recruited? What about your classes? They know she's a student. I won't be finishing school this term. No, sorry, she's now talking to her parents. That's why I called. I need to take some time off. You what? Don't be ridiculous. You don't take time off 4 months before you graduate. Generally true, although saints and soon to be billionaires have done exactly that. You're just tired, Ollie. Her name is Olivia. It's only a few weeks. It'll be over before you know it. Olivia looked out on the motorists gathering in the court for breakfast. Curious beyond saying, in one life, she dies of electrocution. In another, she's in the world's largest truck stop, explaining to her father that she's been chosen by beings of light to help preserve the most wondrous creatures on earth. Olivia can't help smiling. The life her father begs her to return to, the drugs, the psycho parties, the unprotected sex, the life-threatening dares, is hell itself, while this trip westward is bringing her back from the dead. So she's had a very decadent life as she's trying to make herself be a student of the subject that she wasn't very interested in. So this book takes many perspectives on different things, and I highly recommend it, although it's actually quite a difficult and long book to read. So it was valuable because it made me see nature from many different perspectives. And it has changed my thinking a little bit. I suppose I would like to read some non-fiction about trees. There's a book called The Secret Life of Trees, which I haven't read yet, because honestly, I prefer reading stories. Honestly, this was a bit difficult for me because it's got 5 different people in it. It's very sad, very extreme. So I don't know if I totally recommend it. I mean, this guy, Richard Powers, there's also a movie, I think, coming up made of the second book he wrote called Bewildered, which is about a father and son going out into nature. Usually quite tragic things happen in his stories, but at the same time, they're quite positive and life affirming. Thanks for listening to my book report. And when you do your book report, if you can arrange it as a Q&A, so have somebody say to you, what's the book's title? Who is the author? When did you start reading? How many pages have you read? When did you finish? Tell me an interesting quote. So who are the characters? I think that was something we didn't do enough yet. Who are the characters? Who's the main character in this book? What's the theme? And what did you think about this book? How does it relate to your life? And did it change your thinking? What are you going to read next? So if you can add a little bit more about the characters, because when I'm looking at your book reports, I see that we don't really know, like, where are we in this one? We're in the United States of America and we're driving from the city to the wild land. Yeah, thanks for listening and look forward to hearing your own book reports.